It's 5 p.m. here in Lagos, Nigeria. Welcome all our viewers here in the country and around the world. I'm Amarachi Ubani. Here's what's coming up within the hour. 71-year-old French man pleads guilty to charges of drugging his wife and recruiting dozens of men to rape her. The World Today starts now. Welcome back. We're headed to the United States, where a new body cam video published on Monday shows law enforcement taking into custody the man suspected of firing gunshots near former President Donald Trump's golf course in Florida over the weekend. According to the police, the gunman, 58-year-old Ryan Ruth, hid for nearly 12 hours in the bushes before Trump played an unscheduled game. He fled in a vehicle but was arrested about 40 minutes later. The suspect was said to be equipped with 2 digital cameras, a black plastic bag of food, an SKS-style semi-automatic rifle, a weapon with a range of nearly 440 yards, and a scope to magnify its length. The Florida court charged Ruth with federal gun crimes, including the possession of a firearm by a convicted felon and possession of a firearm with an obstructed serial number.
Keep walking!
In addition to his other comment thanking God for saving the former president's life in another attempted assassination, President Joe Biden has commended the Secret Service for its handling of the incident. This time he was speaking at the Historically Black Colleges and Universities Conference in Philadelphia. President Biden said there is no place for political violence in America.
I commend the Secret Service for the expert handling of the situation. And the former president is protected from harm and the subject is in custody. An acting head of the Secret Service is in Florida today assessing what happened and determining whether any further adjustments need to be made to ensure the safety of our former president. Let me just say, there is no, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, those of you who know me, many of you do, no place in political violence for political violence in America. None. Zero. Never. I've always condemned political violence. I always will in America. In America, we resolve our differences peacefully, the ballot box, not at the end of a gun. America suffered too many times the tragedy of an assassin's bullet. It solves nothing and just tears the country apart. We must do everything we can to prevent it and never give it any oxygen.
U.S. President Joe Biden. Republican presidential nominee J.D. Vance says the former president called him just 10 minutes after the incident on Sunday. He was a little mad because the service had stopped him from finishing the game when he was lining up a birdie putt on the 6th hole. Vance also pleaded with Democrats to tone down the rhetoric, or somebody's going to get hurt by it, and it's going to destroy this country.
And President Trump, I was actually sitting at home in Cincinnati with my 7-year-old, and I get a phone call, and it says Donald J. Trump. So I answer it, and he says, "JD, you're not going to believe this, but they tried to do it again." And I said, "No, they didn't. You're joshing me. What's going on here, sir?" And he says, "No, I was playing golf, and the Secret Service found somebody who was trying to shoot me." And I say, "Oh my Lord, sir. I'm so glad you're okay. I mean, are you doing okay? Are you not just physically okay, but everything's fine?" He said, "Yeah, I'm doing fine." And this is just who Donald Trump is. He said, I'm a little mad because I was about to make a birdie putt on the 6th hole and they wouldn't let me finish. And the guy is literally like, this happened. I mean, he calls me right after. This is 10 minutes after, and he's pissed off that they won't let him finish his birdie putt right after they found a guy with an AK-47. But by the way, that is kind of the guy that you want to be president of the United States, right? Who's fazed by nothing, who's telling jokes afterwards.
Well, Trump's vice presidential nominee, J.D. Vance, appears to have admitted that he and the former president have been spreading racist lies about Haitian immigrants in Springfield, Ohio. The revelation was made during an interview with CNN's Dana Bash. Vance flailed as he attempted to downplay his ticket's role in spreading completely discredited rumors that Haitian immigrants in Springfield were eating their neighbors' cats and dogs. With Vance and Trump's help, the cartoonishly racist lies made their way to the national stage, fueling right-wing hysterics. and resulting in multiple bomb threats in the city of Springfield. Officials in Springfield and the governor have been having a hard time decrying the baseless rumors about the Haitian immigrants. A town of around 60,000 residents located 45 miles west of Columbus has been in the political spotlight ever since last week's debate, when the former president mentioned viral online claims about immigrants eating other residents' cats and dogs. In the latest regarding the threat, 6 buildings in the Springfield City School District have been targeted by threats, including 2 elementary schools that were evacuated on Monday. Joining us now is national security law and foreign policy expert Joanna LeBlanc. Joanna is of Haitian descent. She's also American. Thank you for joining us on the program today.
Thank you, Amarachi. Always a pleasure joining you.
How have you felt since these rumors have been swirling around, the allegations that Haitian immigrants have been eating people's pets in Springfield, Ohio?
Well, first and foremost, those comments are false, which we have plenty of evidence to show that. And secondly, I think that J.D. Vance and Vice President Trump's comments are repulsive, divisive, and quite frankly, dangerous, and has no place in American politics or in American discourse. As you noted during the introduction, as a result of those comments made by J.D. Vance and former President Trump, there's been a number of death threats on the lives of Haitians living in Springfield, Ohio. Life has not been the same ever since. The Ku Klux Klan posted a message asking not just Haitians, but all immigrants to leave town. So people in Springfield, Ohio are living under a great deal of threat as a result. And they don't know what tomorrow holds. And it's very concerning. And not just Haitians in Springfield, Ohio, but Haitian Americans all across this country. According to the U.S. Census, there are almost 2 million Haitian Americans living here in America. Largest population is in New York and Florida. So Haitians in this country are appalled because Haitian Americans have contributed so much to the American economy. Even the migrants, although they may not be U.S. citizens, they're able to vote in elections, but they've also contributed to the economy. They go to work, they pay taxes. So it's rather concerning.
Why do you think that this comment has gone viral, Joanna? Is it because it's a true reflection of how Americans feel towards immigrants, or is it just because, they were being peddled by a former president?
I think it's possibly a combination of both. But what I can tell you is that I think the comment made by J.D. Vance and former President Trump was meant to deflect from the real issues at hand, which is that during the debate, he completely failed to perform. He went down the rabbit hole when Vice President Harris talked about his crowd sizes during his campaign events. And that did not sit well with Mr. Trump. And he was not able to recover after that comment was made. So he chose to further amplify a comment that was made by J.D. Vance. But let me tell you this, Amarachi. Not only the comments are concerning, but it is even more concerning because it's coming from politicians at the highest level. J.D. Vance is a senator. He's one of the 100 senators at the U.S. Senate that is responsible for making policies that have an impact, not just on Americans, but folks all over the world and even countries. So I think making this kind of comment and finding out that there's no truth to it discredits the United States Senate. And it puts in question the credibility of our senators at the United States Senate. And it's very concerning. I think that the leadership needs to address this immediately because you don't want a Senate where the position of its members are compromised and are being questioned by not just the American public, but the world at large.
I see that there are many comments on social media. People have run with this, and people in Springfield also saying, trying to confirm what the vice presidential nominee said and what former President Donald Trump has said about, neighbors eating their pets. And it turns out that the people of Springfield are just upset at the government for no longer having access to certain benefits that they used to have. Many jobs are gone, going to immigrants for some reason. And I know that I've heard comments about people wanting to employ these immigrants because they seem to have more qualification, and then they're also the ones who don't have any history of drug use and who seem to have their lives back together. It's the fact that these small group of people, the 60,000 population, does not seem to have access to government welfare programs that they used to have access to. So they seem to be lashing out on the immigrants themselves.
Yeah, I think that whenever you are in a situation where resources are scarce, you are going to have this kind of conflict between groups, right? And we have seen that throughout history. I mean, you look at places like South Africa. The reason why xenophobia exists is because of lack of resources, and some South Africans believe that immigrants are coming, taking the jobs and taking opportunities away from them. If there were enough resources for everyone, right, I think that you wouldn't see as much of this kind of rhetoric going around. But I think at the end of the day, it's a fight for resources. But look, like you said, the managers at different establishments indicated that they love having Haitians working for them because the Haitian workers are very reliable. This is a town, Springfield, that was on the decline and needed to be revitalized. And Haitian migrants who are TPS recipients, who are on humanitarian parole. And again, these are all legal statuses you can have here in this country. Move to Springfield, Ohio to work and help with not just to help themselves financially, but also help with revitalizing the economy by paying taxes. Now, we have to be objective and say that there is an influx of Haitians living in the city. As we know, initially it was a population of roughly 60 to 70,000. And then you have an influx of about 15 to 20,000 Haitians moved in over the past few years, which has really put a strain on the social services and in the government, which is very understandable. And I think it's important for the federal government to provide resources to these types of towns. And not just Ohio, we're looking at places like New York, we're looking at places in Boston, you look at places in Florida. Across America, you see an influx of migrants, not just from Haiti, but from all across the world, in particular, Latin America region. So there needs to be a more cohesive effort between state, local, and federal government to make sure that the local governments are receiving the proper resources that they need in order to properly accommodate everyone, so that you will see a reduction in the number of these rhetorics, and also you'll see a decrease in this type of friction between different groups.
Yes, and the hatred towards immigrants. I'm learning also that in New York, about 40,000 migrants have been evacuated. What's the word now? They have been, sent out of their homes, various homes and houses in New York. And I know that there is a lashing out against immigrants in this country. It's in America, beg your pardon. There seems to be a lot of bad feeling there seems to be against immigrants in the United States. It's a major problem that should be addressed, by the president, a major problem that should be addressed by political leaders in America. But it just seems that everyone is sort of shying away from this problem. I wanted to get your thoughts on, what you made of what J.D. Vance said to Dana Bash in that interview. He didn't take responsibility for having made this comment and seemed to push the blame away from himself and onto the media. So now everyone is blaming the media for seemingly blowing things out of proportion when it was really the politicians who began this rumor in the first place.
Well, if you're a media personnel and journalist, and a sitting senator makes such comment, you would accept it to be true because you accept that your senator, a senator rather, is one that is truthful and that has integrity, that will find out the facts before sharing information with the world. And unfortunately, that's not the case here. And I think that every senator now, if they make a comment, it needs to be fact checked before the public picks it up, the media picks it up and run with it because of this precedent that J.D. Vance has now presented. And it's very concerning because, again, we're supposed to rely on our senators for information and important information about our country, about our democracy, about our economy, about our immigration processes and so on. But now it has been compromised because of JD's comments. So look, I think JD Vance, he needs to retract, right? That's the first step. And he needs to apologize to not just the Haitian community, but all immigrants here in this country. Because when you make this comment about Haitians, I mean, the difference between myself and an average African American is not different when you look at the structure of our faces and our skin complexion. So everyone is impacted by this. And you look at, even African immigrants, they can be mistaken to be Haitian because we're all look alike, right? So I think he deserves to provide. He should provide an apology to Black people in this country, to Haitians, to immigrants, because those comments were, meant to dehumanize. It was not meant to garner, to start a productive conversation on the path forward. And furthermore, not only he made those comments, but you have, very influential individuals like Elon Musk. You have Ted Cruz and a host of other influential folks in America who have retweeted these types of hatred comments and divisive comments. And I think they all need to issue an apology, because these types of comments, again, they're very dangerous. And we're living in a time where political violence is becoming the norm. I mean, for goodness sakes, Vice President Trump, this is the second assassination attempt on his life. If former President Trump is in jeopardy for his safety and it could possibly be assassinated. Think about the average person living in Springfield, Ohio. They are not safe because of some of these comments that have been made by Mr. Trump and Mr. Vance.
Yeah. The assassination attempt on the former president, Donald Trump, is very worrying for American politics. But will this impact on his campaign and his race to the White House on November 5th?
Well, let me tell you this. Trump base obviously, remains galvanized and supportive of him regardless. But, the voting bloc within the Haitian community it's quite significant. Significant that it is so significant that it could literally change the outcome of the presidential election in places like in the state of Florida because of the number of Haitian Americans that we have who live there. So I don't think that it was a good use of Mr. Trump's time during the debate to have brought up this topic because this is an election that is going to be neck and neck. And you want to bring as many people to the table as you possibly can. There are Haitian Americans who are registered Republicans who are committed to voting for Mr. Trump. And some since this comment have said they are considering they will not vote for Mr. Trump. And you have Haitians in Georgia and Boston and different parts of America. I think that Mr. Trump needs every single vote that he can possibly get. So this comment that he made did not help him. In fact, I think that it will hurt him in the ballot box to a certain extent. Because as I said, a number of Haitian Americans have reconsidered voting for Mr. Trump because of his rhetoric.
Joanna, thanks again for joining us.
Thank you, Amarachi.
Welcome back. French woman Gisèle Pellicot, whose ex-husband allegedly abused her by recruiting strangers to sexually assault her while she was drugged, arrived back in court today for today's session, which was called into recess. Dominic Pellicot admitted to drugging his wife and recruiting dozens of strangers to rape her over nearly a decade, begging his family's forgiveness. As he told a French court on Tuesday, "I am a rapist." Dominic Pellicot's lawyer, Beatrice Zavaro, said it was up to the court to give an interpretation of the defendant's statement, adding that she was happy to see her client explain himself in court and show that he does not want to dodge responsibility. Dominic had been due to testify last week in a case that has shocked France, but his appearance was delayed due to health issues, he appeared in court with a cane. Firefighters are still battling the raging wildfire in central Portuguese municipality of Nelas. So far, at least 2 people have been killed in the central and northern regions of the country. The flames, which neared residential areas, has prompted authorities to evacuate villages, close motorways, and request additional water-bombing aircraft from the European Union. Portugal and neighboring Spain have recorded fewer fires than usual after a rainy start to the year, but both remain vulnerable to the increasingly hot and dry conditions the scientists have blamed on global warming. Meanwhile, the death toll from Typhoon Yagi has risen to at least 236 in Myanmar. The powerful storm caused severe flooding in several regions of the country, with some 77 people still missing. The United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs indicates the toll could be even higher, as an estimated 631,000 people were affected by the floods. Typhoon Yagi, one of the strongest storms to hit Asia this year, also swept across southern China, Vietnam, Laos, and the Philippines last week, bringing torrential rains and severe flooding. And the death toll has risen from the impacts of floods in Central and Eastern Europe, many countries bracing for even more torrential rain. Rivers are still spilling their banks in the Czech Republic, while the river Danube was rising in Austria, Slovakia, and Hungary. Flooding is the worst the region has seen in the last 2 decades. Border areas between the Czech Republic and Poland were especially hit hard over the weekend, with surging water levels leading to collapsed bridges and damaged cars and houses. 7 people are reported to have died in Romania, where waters have receded since the weekend. 4 have been declared dead in Poland, another 5 in Austria, and 3 in the Czech Republic. Dozens more are still said to be missing. Here in Nigeria, President Bola Tinubu has announced the creation of a disaster relief fund to assist citizens impacted by floods and other disasters. The president announced this during his visit to Borno State, where he sympathized with the state government and the people over the recent flooding from the Alo Dam. President Tinubu visited the Shehu of Borno, an internally displaced persons camp at the government secondary school in Maiduguri, and had a drive-through of areas affected by the disaster.
Yobe and other affected states. I say we will pull together a very good program for Nigeria to recover from this calamity and do better in the interest of our people. I've been thinking of how do we tackle this kind of a problem, whether it's climate change or any other means. But there must be a disaster relief fund for the victims.
Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu in Maiduguri, the Borno state capital. Joining us now from Borno is founder Advocacy for Human Value, Fatima Habib. Fatima, we've been trying to reach you all week. Thanks for making time for us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And I know it must have been many long days and nights for you trying to reach the needy on the ground. You were involved in evacuation efforts. What can you tell us now about the present state of things in Borno State?
Yeah, that's correct. Actually, my team have worked morning to night trying to get people out of their house, a lot of people who were trapped. And now I can tell you the work has reduced drastically because a lot of people have been rescued. I am sure other organizations have been working with other people to rescue others as well. And I think it's only one of the places that have not been reached, and that is because the water level is still very much high. But we have actually teamed us up with the people with the boats, the canoe people that will go in to get them out. We also have the support of the Fire Service Commission in the states going in to bring people that are trapped, especially when we get the distress call, because we have made it upon ourselves to give out emergency lines so people will be able to reach us immediately. They are informed that there are people that are trapped. So basically that is it. And now there is a need for medical intervention and feeding intervention as well in the states. And moreover, there are lots of people who are still homeless due to the fact that most of the IDP camps are filled up, and now people are forced to sleep on the on the roads, because the mega schools are all filled up. A lot of people have been impacted by this disaster. So that's basically what has been going in the states.
Yeah, thank you for that. Telling us about, this condition in the camps itself. But let's talk about the needs of these people. Apart from shelter, we did see videos, of officials trying to, serve people with, some food supplies during one of their rounds in Borno State. How much of food and supplies are getting to those who need them?
At the moment, I will tell you, when you go to each and every camp that this disaster has happened, where these people, victims, are being kept, a lot of people are crying of hunger. The people are just too much that we cannot even do it alone. A lot of humanitarians, a lot of civil society organizations, the governments are trying, everyone is trying to make sure these people are well fed, but then they are just too much. They are in large quantity. Some of the victims are not even victims. They fake their identity. Some of them have not even been in the flood, but they come to the camp in disguise that they are one of those, and then they will get the food. Meanwhile, the main victims are not getting much of the attention they need, because other people are taking advantage of the situation while trying to show that they are the victims of the flood. So it is just too overwhelming for everybody in the States.
I can imagine how increasingly needy the situation is on the ground. Fatima, thank you for giving us this update, and do stay safe. We do wish you and everyone else who's on the ground safety, and of course that you get all that you need to provide for these people who need so much help desperately. We also encourage our viewers, if you can, to give towards the people of Borno State who are in desperate need of food and supplies at this time.
Thank you very much.
To other stories now. China's exponential growth and development are a result of resilience and determination towards its people, something Nigeria can emulate as it seeks to strengthen its ties with the country. A thought of Foreign Affairs and African Affairs analyst Achike Chude during a celebration of the national days of both countries over the weekend. Mr. Chude believes there is so much Nigeria can gain from its relations with China, but the country needs to get out of the mindset of always coming cap in hand to the table.
They have spread their spheres of influence, all over the world, and Africa is not an exception. And they have brought in a lot of things with them, and they have engaged with Africa, engaged with Nigeria in a way that is different from what the continent has seen. With other, foreign partners. Obviously, the Chinese are not the only, country. It's not the only country that Nigeria is engaging with. So they have increased that relationship with Nigeria. If you look at even the quantum of investments in Africa in general and Nigeria in particular, it has grown exponentially. While that of their competing partners more or less has kind of dwindled over the years. And I think that there is a realization by some of these other, countries that perhaps they need to get back into the continent. But the reality is that the Chinese have actually gone ahead in terms of the influence, that they have in Africa, what they have been able to do with countries in Africa, especially Nigeria. In virtually every area, every sector of the Nigerian political economy, they are very strong when it comes to issues of the issues of construction, for instance, they have been able to do in terms of infrastructural development. They are doing well also when it comes to IT, the telecom sector. They are there, and then again, so when you see this is the other softer side, what you call the soft diplomacy, which also has bearing at the political level. A lot of people might not know. But these things, as it is, have a way of encouraging participation, between, people that matter of critical importance to both countries, strengthens relationship at the social level. And once you're able to strengthen relationships at the social level, there are also economic and political implications, and I think they have done this extremely very well.
As we end the program today, Russian amateur gardener Alexander Chusov has broken national records by growing an 817-kilogram pumpkin. That's about the average weight of a bull. This is all at a competition held on Saturday in Russia's oldest botanical garden, the Apothecary's Garden. According to the organizers, Chusov's achievement surpassed the previous record of 771 kilograms, making his pumpkin the heaviest ever grown in the country. The competition was part of the annual Autumn Festival at the garden, which was founded by Tsar Peter the Great. Chusov explains his primary focus is the joy of cultivating and showcasing his plants, despite the hobby requiring considerable efforts, especially during the chilly spring season. Following the competition, the giant pumpkins and a variety of other vegetables are put on display for visitors. One guest said, he admired the people who grew all of the vegetables, the skill, the care, which are needed to create such autumn luxury. We here are just awed by Chusov's creation. Awesome things. Thanks for watching the program. I'm Amarachi Ubani.